how are you going about this? Like, how are you going about making sure that you're staying healthy while also putting on massive amounts of strength and size?
Okay, so first thing is first. I have a bit of a controversial...
What's next? Are you going to come back next year, and are you going to try to qualify for nationals?
So the answer is...
All right, welcome back to the Truth Performance Podcast. Today we have a guest. His name is Justin Foulis. He is Canada's strongest mortgage broker and one of British Columbia, one of the strongest men there are in the entire province, and a fantastic mortgage broker. Justin, thank you for being here today, man.
Thanks, buddy, for having me.
No problem. Just before we aired, we were talking a little bit about your strongman career and endeavors, and I just want to, like, for everyone who doesn't know exactly what is involved in being a strongman, like, what does that look like, and how do you manage to do it while being self-employed as a mortgage broker?
What does being a strongman entail? Okay, I think it's kind of a loaded question. It ultimately is picking up really heavy things and then putting them down again, I guess, is like the simplistic answer. I feel like most strongmen, even professionally that you see on TV, generally come from some sort of like bodybuilding or like powerlifting background, and they kind of get bored from it and then want to like kind of push their bodies to like that next thing. How do I do it while brokering? Well, I got a cool team behind me that does a lot of the work, so I don't have to, I guess, is the simple answer again to that. But I think it just comes with like discipline of like, you know, your training is 5 to 7:30 or something like that, and then, you know, work is 8:30 on kind of idea, and just trying to stick to that as best as possible and get your meals in and try not to cheat. I mean, I'm on a diet, but I'm not trying to like lose weight per se, so just try to eat as healthy as possible and kind of rock and roll from there.
So just for a reference point, you're what, 6'1", 6'2"?
Yeah, somewhere in that range. Yeah,
and you're a monster of a man. Actually, I should have prepared it in advance for this, but there's a photo, I can always edit in later, where from your wedding is like my favorite photo of all time, where we're throwing you up in the air, and there's like how many of us, like 8 of us standing around you, and you're on your belly, and we're all cradling you and throwing you up in the air. And I think that's just like the best photo ever.
Yeah, there was a good one that you guys actually have, like, I'm clearly in the air, like you can see your faces are like, uh-oh, what do we do now? So
yeah, now what? So
yeah,
how, like, what exactly, like, what is your day-to-day while you're in training mode? Like, say you've got a competition in a month from now, like, what are you eating on a regular basis?
Well, if this video is going live with this podcast, you can see the cuts of meat I have on my back of my wall. So it's a lot of red meat, anywhere from like, I don't know, probably 5 to 10 pounds a day, honestly, of meat.
5 to 10
cups
pounds.
Of rice. Yeah.
Holy cow.
So this prep I just did for provincials, which was 12 weeks long, I went through a half a cow, just myself.
A half a cow in your 12-week prep.
Yeah.
That's insane. So, and you're doing this all under supervision for medical purposes, because I'm sure enough internet warriors would be super upset with your cholesterol or your LDL levels. So what does that look like? So
I'm on testosterone replacement therapy. So I do blood work every 8 weeks or so, 9 weeks. For all the haters out there, they're like, oh, he's going to be using steroids. I had a surgery when I was 13 years old, so I have to be on testosterone replacement therapy to be a normal male. So that being said, my cholesterol and every marker that you hear that should be going up because I'm eating so much red meat is not going up. And for being 330 pounds, I am very, very healthy. So,
what is your cholesterol at? I just got my blood work done as well.
I'd have to pull it up and look. I don't have it like in front of me, but it's like mid to bottom range. So
really, even though you're eating so much, I wonder if it's because you add in so much carbs, because you've explained to me what you eat before, and there is quite a bit of carbs in there as well. It's not like you're strict carnivore or anything like that.
Yeah, and they're like for this prep in particular, so like I'm off prep now. So today, like my lunch was sushi, and I didn't eat like an absorbent amount. But like I was probably doing like 15 cups of rice and like 5-6 potatoes during that prep with the steaks.
And
So,
over the 12-week period.
yeah, it is like 8 meals a day roughly. Almost
Holy
like
cow.
3 hours if you kind of timed it out. So
Where now it's so interesting because like obviously protein, building blocks, repairing the muscles, but then on the same token, there's so many benefits to not constantly having your body digesting to allow your body to come in and repair and have other clean out processes for your body. So how is there a balance there of like, or like maybe going back and forth and like always feeding and then allowing your body to repair itself? Like, how do you balance that?
I don't know if it's necessarily a balance. I think you just do it, to be honest. Like, you kind of know what you like. I learned through the first season of not necessarily eating properly and not being prepared for shows and different events that like you have to do this. So like when your body's not recovering, it's either sleep or you don't have enough protein, or if you're gassy, you have too much protein. So it's just kind of finding that like happy balance. So like to give you an idea, last year's provincials, I was eating about 350 grams a day of protein, whereas this year I only went up to 250 grams. And it was a much better prep for me digestively because my body was getting just enough protein versus the other one where I was too much protein.
Interesting.
You have
And
to
now,
like self experiment, I guess, to find what works, right?
which I know because we've been friends for a long time and I know you're in the group, although you weren't on it in the last week, but right here, the Whoop Strap. So you're able to see in real time your data on your sleep and recovery based on when your last meal was, because you can track all those things. Whether you take the effort to organize your journal in a way that you can track all those different metrics, I don't know if you do or not, but so I guess that's the question right there. Like, what are you tracking, especially while you're in a prep? What are you tracking on your Whoop to see how you can be more optimal for your prep?
All right. So actually, I stopped doing it for this prep because I wanted to actually try it without it this time, because I have
Okay.
been pretty religious with my Whoop for probably 3 years almost or so, right? Like how long you been gone for? I was doing it before you left. So
I took a year break for the first year I was in Mexico, mostly because of how bad my knee injury was, that I wasn't really using it to optimize because I was literally just focused on rehabbing my knee. So I wasn't really doing any of those other things. So once I got back into a place where, okay, now I'm getting back into sports, now I'm getting back into more lifting and being more agile, and okay, how do I improve? How do I get better digestion? How do I get better sleep? And then I'm like, okay, well, let's throw the Whoop Strap back on. So I've been going at it, but I've probably been on and off of it for like 4 years.
okay, so yeah, it's probably pretty close to the same, maybe let's say three and a bit. Pretty religious too up until I probably stopped. It's weird that I actually don't have a tan line on my bicep anymore from it, so it's weird. Um, I found I was almost becoming a little obsessive with it, like constantly looking at things and like if like I felt really good going to the gym, and then like it's like, oh, you didn't have like a very good recovery, and it was like kind of like messing with my mind a little bit. So that was why I decided to like take a step away. So I to be honest, like I literally just went off how I felt. Like if I woke up at 4:30 and was like I feel exhausted, I just slept it. That's all it was. Or if I woke up at 3 a.m. because I woke up at 3 to pee and I was like, hey, I'm ready to go. Like I actually just got my day started at 3 a.m. So for this prep, I want to try something a little different. I mean, you could argue it probably didn't help me theoretically, because it wasn't the best performance I've had, but I mean, some days it's yours, some days it's not, right? So
Yeah, and you can't blame it on that one thing. Like,
no,
oh, I didn't use my Whoop Strap before, lead up, and during the event, therefore I didn't perform as well because I didn't know my metrics. Like you can't do that. You'll drive yourself nuts.
yeah. But like
Very
when I was doing it, I definitely found like my last meal, if it was chicken, I normally got better recoveries. What was something else I really noticed? I could have lower heart rates in like cardiovascular activities if I had an actual meal about half an hour before training. So that was actually probably my biggest like realization was that, and I don't know the metrics and the science behind it, but I just remember when I kind of watched it change, it was about a 30% drop in my heart rate from like six, what is the fifth range or the fourth range or whatever it is, just before max heart rate. So it was like pretty significant, and that I could push myself longer.
with a little bit extra fuel in your system.
Yeah, it probably has to do with like the glucose, right, being transferred into the bloodstream and everything. But
Do you know what you were eating going to that workout?
most of the time it was like a pretty hot like white rice and like 30 grams of protein or something like that.
Yeah, white rice is my favorite for breakfast.
Yes. Man, I used to do like a cup and a half of white rice. I think it was like 4 egg whites, 4 eggs, and like a cup and a half of ground beef. That was like my monster mash breakfast from Stand Up for Eating. It'd just be like a mound of food. Yes. Like this. I don't like eggs anymore because of it.
No, you don't like eggs? Oh, what if you make it like a nice sunny side up egg or a over easy egg with some other stuff? Like, no?
Do I look like I'm a cook and I know how to do these nice things for myself? I'm a caveman with a stick, okay?
Crack egg in bowl, mix, heat.
Okay, you're talking to somebody. Last year's prep, I was drinking chicken, 250 grams of chicken to get my protein goals in.
That's
every night.
Absurd. I did that once.
So,
one time only. Is when I was like, I don't know, 15 and I had braces and my face hurt and I wanted to enjoy, I think it was turkey dinner. And so I blended up turkey with some other things and I didn't drink it. It was terrible.
I did drink it, and I drank it more than probably 15 occasions. And you put what I learned was a little orange juice made it taste not too bad.
A little bit of orange juice with your chicken.
Yeah. Boiled chicken blended. Yeah.
Talk dirty to me. Boiled chicken. So with this meat consumption that you've been on of late, you've also stepped into your 30-year-old best dad self and you've bought yourself a Traeger. And you are often smoking large pieces of meat. So, and now I see you have your chart in the background, which is beautiful. Your meat chart. Is it just beef?
Just from a cow, baby. Gives you
Okay,
everything.
so if you were to get a half a cow based on that chart, you could make all of those cuts, in theory.
If you're good with a knife, yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of those that are very difficult to cut out, but yep.
Okay, so what is it? Just the smoke and the allure and the taste and the experience of it that made you get into that, or what got you into the smoking of the meat?
I've always liked barbecuing, and I feel like on a charcoal on a propane grill, you only have so much choice of what you kind of want to do or how you can do it. So it was probably some Joe Rogan influence too. Let's be real. I mean, I listen to every damn episode every day. So, but yeah, I don't know. We went out and got one, and it's probably bestest. I've never I can't eat steak out at any restaurant. I had a lender event at Gotham, and I turned it down because I'm like, their steak is going to be $100, and I'm still going to cook better at home.
Whoa, wait, what was this situation? You had a lender go to Gotham,
like a lender dinner that wanted to take me out to dinner, and I was like, I'm not going to enjoy it, so I'll decline. No one makes steaks better than me anymore. My steaks are.
So would you say you want to compete for best steak cooking mortgage broker next?
It's probably the title's probably already mine. Let's be real.
Yeah, I mean, I'm heavy meat as well. Now the quantity is not nearly as much, but I'm also a lot smaller human than you are. But I also don't eat as much of.
What size is your waist?
What size is my waist? Like 32.
Yeah. Okay, my leg is 32.5 inches round.
That's terrifying. Your
leg.
Upper thigh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. I know you always got your thick boy posts on Instagram.
So yeah, so everyone you reference, my leg is slightly bigger than Clayton's whole waist. So
correct. Does your leg have a six pack?
It's pretty lean. It's not too shabby. It's not exactly a six pack, but it has some good quad lines in there.
It's got some good yeah, the hamstring definition, those bad boys is pretty fierce.
Yeah. So I mean, depends what you like. I'm sure there's some girls out there that like that.
So how many competitions have you been in now? Doing strongman competitions?
Probably 8 or 9.
8 or 9, right from regional, smaller competitions up to, and you've been up to the provincial level and attempting to qualify for nationals. Yeah.
Yeah, so last year I did a show almost every month, and qualified for nationals last year, but unfortunately I was in Costa Rica, so I figured a month in a foreign country is much better than going to lift heavy things. And then this year, just with everything on, I only did 2 shows technically. I tried a third, but it was like a last minute entry. I cramped up midway through the show, and I wasn't hydrated, didn't carb load. It was kind of a stupid idea, but yeah, so 9, I would say altogether, roughly.
So zooming out a little bit away from the actual strongman competition itself, but just in general fitness. I know me and you have been entrepreneurs and we were in the real estate space starting around the same time, within a year of each other. How different would your mindset be if it wasn't for your life in the gym?
I wouldn't be able to do it. It's gonna sound bad that I'm gonna say this, but like you would know too, but like unfortunately we deal with uneducated people day in, day out. And when you deal with uneducated people in certain topics, conversations get very stupid. And I have a hard time with stupid. I would say like I'm very short with it, and I don't have we can start, and it's probably like a 5-second, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done listening. I don't want to talk about this. I have a very hard time with it. And so if it wasn't for the gym, I would probably not have a very good business or a lot more negative reputation than I do, because I would tell people that they're being stupid, because I kind of a say what I think brain. So
a negative filter.
Put things out there. Yeah.
So what is what is it about the gym? What is it about lifting? Like, what is it and what is it giving you?
Okay, so we'll go this in like 2 kind of routes. So like a couple of years ago, as you know, my mom passed away. So like I was like single child, very close with my mom, and kind of to my stepdad for the same thing. But when she passed away, it wasn't necessarily sudden. It was still a bit of a shock. And if it wasn't probably for the gym, I probably would have. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm one to get depressed very often, but I've been training for over 10 years now, so I feel like that's probably why I'm not depressed very often. And trying to lose your best friend like that, I feel like I trained in the gym. I had kind of these strongman competitions going on, so it just allowed me to put any of these, I won't even say necessarily negative feelings, but these like grieving feelings, things like that, into motivation to lift 500 pounds or 600 pounds or whatever the situation was that day. And then by the time I left the gym, I was too tired to like honestly really think about it, to be completely frank. And it may or may not be healthy, but it worked for one of the shittiest situations of my life to date. So like I'll put it there. Now when it comes to like the business, it's kind of the same, kind of a little bit of the same thing, but I generally will push myself so hard that by the time I start my day, even if it's like an emergency for that client and like the deal is closing on Friday, it's Wednesday and something's gone on with the lawyers or whatever the case is, I'm so tired that my body is like, okay, I hear the problem. This is the solution. Let's get it done. Instead of like, I guess, overanalyzing it kind of. So like when, and that's not a stupid example, but if somebody's coming with, say, a stupid question, it's just like, hey, here's the answer. Like, let's move on. Kind of like, I don't have time to maybe like process the stupidity. Whereas if I wasn't as tired and, I guess more jacked up maybe per se, then I'd be like maybe overanalyze the stupidity, and then it would probably not go well.
Now, disregard this if this isn't true for you, but could it be that doing something difficult in the morning, you're getting your endorphins, you're rewiring your chemistry, and it puts you in more of a parasympathetic state instead of a reactionary state, so that when you're coming into your business and you're coming into problems, you're handling it more like a professional because you're grounded, you're centered, you know what you need to do, you have everything laid out in front of you, and you are not allowing the emotions of someone that's, got a deal on the line and they're freaking out, and you're calm, you're cool and collected because you know what you have to do. You have your connections that you've made and everything, all your processes that you've set up in place, and you trust those systems. So is that a possibility that it could be that more so than just being tired, as much as that may be an element of it?
Yeah, I mean that's definitely an element of it, 100%. I like maybe tired's probably not the right word, but it's just more of like I guess maybe I've done the hardest thing of the day, and so like nothing can be harder than that. I guess that's maybe a better way to put it versus like I'm tired and don't want to deal with it, right?
Yeah, and I mean that's how I think that's how Joe Rogan puts it as well, where he says like, I'm gonna go do this cold plunge. I'm going to go lift heavy weights and do this big rigorous workout because I know that if I check that off my list, that's the hardest thing that I'm gonna have to do today. So everything else, anything else that comes my way, it's not a big deal. I'm gonna handle it, and it's gonna be breezy, right? So I definitely agree with that. Um, do you have any like set routines that you do, whether it's before the gym or when you first wake up or before your work day, or anything that you do that like when you do it you feel a lot better going into the next activity of the day?
Yeah, so when I drive to the gym, it's about a 10-15 minute drive. Today it was
Mm-hmm.
45 because the highway
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
It's just, but I do like, I don't know, 10 minutes. Let's say it takes 15-minute drive. I do about 10 minutes of gratitude, just out loud, kind of like an open prayer, I guess, to the universe kind of thing. And that's every day, no matter what, while I go to the gym. When I come home, assuming I haven't slept in, like the body's actually feeling well, I'm, at the gym for like a little after 5 or whatever. I normally will sauna for 30 minutes when I get home, give or take.
Yeah, after the
Now that we're
gym you go
coming to,
sauna?
yeah,
Yeah, your sauna's pretty awesome.
yeah. And then the only thing it takes a while to heat up, but Sarah will turn it on because she's normally at home. So, um, and then now that we're coming into the cold season again, I'll do the cold dips in the back again. So,
Oh, because you just have it, you have that stone or that steel
yep,
tub, I guess you call it, and then it just gets cold.
yep, yep.
Yeah. That's so funny that you're waiting for well, I guess it was the same thing when I lived in Canada too, because when things get cold, that's when you cold plunge. But like being here in Mexico, man, like you don't have access to cold water. You have to
Yeah.
have artificially made cold water because I can turn on the shower first thing in the morning. It doesn't get below 25 degrees outside. The cistern for the water is on the roof. Like in the winter time, you can get like 10 seconds of where it, shocks the system and takes your breath away a little bit, but like nothing like the cold water in Canada. So that's why I have my
Yeah,
deep freeze.
the cold showers, it's never been one to catch on for me. I don't know why. I can
Dude,
do like hot to cold briefly and then like get out, but like actually sitting there in like I would much rather crawl into my tub that has like 6 inches of ice on top of it. I had to smash a hole into it and sit there for 3 minutes, then sit in the shower for 3 minutes. Like I don't know why the shower, I can't beat the shower for
I
whatever
know
reason.
me and my buddy were just talking about this the other day because my buddy's visiting from it's one of my best friends here, his little brother, and he's from Toronto. And so he does cold showers quite often. I was like, okay, that's next level. He came into my backyard where the cold plunge is, and he opened the lid and got right in, barely took his breath away, was calm, cool, and collected. I'm like, okay, like Canada, next level. Like, you've been cold showering. That's awesome. So when it is wintertime with your cold plunge, are you getting in that every single day?
I try to. There's definitely like last year. So I only technically had it last year, and I was only because we used to go to the lake in Abbotsford there.
Mm-hmm.
I just got tired of driving to it, so I was like, how can I go find one to do at home? So I had it last year, and there was definitely days the inner bitch won, and I let it win, and then there's other days it was like I do it like 2 or 3 times a day. So I would say on average it's every day, but sometimes the voice wins.
Yeah, I mean I think that's the biggest part for me about doing the cold plunges is when I have that little bitch voice on my shoulder saying like, nah, you don't need to do it today, or you have this and this reason not to do it. Or once you get in, be like, oh look, you're controlling your breath and everything's good, but my leg's starting to hurt. Maybe that's a reason to get out. And you're just like, no, shut up, bitch.
Yeah, my
I'm in
ankles, I
control.
don't know why. It's always the ankles. They start to hurt, and you're just like, I can't do it. And then you're like, but I did 5 minutes yesterday. I just have to do 3 today. And you're like, nope, 30 seconds out.
Yeah, whenever like my body or anything, the voice on my shoulder is telling me to get out, I just count it in breaths because usually my breaths are like a slow inhale and like an even slower long exhale just to control the breath and control the nervous system. That's, like usually 8 to 10 seconds per breath. So just like, okay, I'm just going to do 3 more breaths. and go at it like that. And just as long as I'm not succumbing to that voice and I get out on my own accord, that's when I'm
I think
happy.
the funniest thing for me, I'm seeing if I can find a picture of it and might be able to show it on the screen, but was when it had ice all around it, and yet I still couldn't do, like, once the ice melted, I couldn't go in and do like 30 seconds. Like, but I could go in when it was colder, but I couldn't go in when it was warmer. Like, it was just the weirdest mind mess around ever. So
Yeah,
that was like a little pop up, yeah. So
oh
like I had
damn.
to smash like a hole into it, and there was 6 inches of ice. That was easy to climb into, but when it was just water, I couldn't. Like, it was just cold water, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, something about that day that we went out in the middle of the lake when it was frozen, and we, Christian went early with the axe and cut the hole in it, and we had the photographer and everything, and made a day of it. Something about that, having to have your whole body resting on ice, like your arms are just sitting on 6 inches of ice, that was like so much more difficult and so much colder than just walking into the cold water and just dipping down to your shoulders.
Yeah, I actually feel like as I progressed with it, like that has to be a hard, like it has to be more mentally challenging, then I'll do it versus like, oh, it's just cold water. I don't know. I feel like I had to I don't know if you were there that one time, but I did like 28 minutes and like it was pouring rain. It was like -15 out, and like Christian was bringing Letitia around. And she was a nurse. I think it was like her second time, and she's like, "You're actually gonna get hypothermia. Like, you have to get out now." And I was like, "But I feel fine. Like, I'm rocking it."
Yeah, that fine could have been numbness of everything. Because you know what happened to our friend. You know what? Screw it. I said his name on one of the last podcasts I did, calling him out on this story. I'll do it again. Yeah, Nick, where he, because he kept going in for so long, and then I think he did 15 or 20 minutes, and then we went to walk around the lake to warm up, and he pissed himself because he didn't even feel it, didn't even know.
Yeah, I don't like. I'm sure he was doing the right way too. I actually felt like with the bracing of the core and like the way I was breathing, like I actually felt like really warm. And I understand like that's part of hypothermia, yada yada yada. But like I got out, like I like got dressed, like everything was fine. Like I don't know. Yeah.
How about the rest of
Maybe
the day? Did you
maybe it was 29 minutes I had to hit. Maybe that was when everything was gonna fall apart. Like I don't know.
do you
So,
do you find that when you push yourself a little bit further in time in the cold water, that you have a harder time warming up and you're a little bit exhausted during the day instead of getting that energy boost?
oh, I take a nap anyway, so I have a nap midday always. Like we're actually cutting into my nap right now, so
Well, I appreciate you cutting out the time for this nap of the nap for this podcast today. I appreciate it. Is that why
but
it's
yeah,
so
I
easy
don't
to
know, like,
schedule?
yeah,
That's awesome.
2 to 3 o'clock is always the time to have a nap. No one can make calls with me.
So
Um,
we
yeah, I don't know. I don't think. I'm trying to think back to that day. Like I think I went to a lunch later that day, and I don't remember. I may have been tired. I can't. It was so long ago. I can't remember. But yeah, it probably wasn't worth it. Let's be real.
Yeah, and going back to the health stuff, like I know you've taken a lot of shit online from people questioning your health as a strong man that it weighs 330 pounds, but also gets constant blood work done to make sure he's doing things in a safe and healthy manner. So, like, how are you going about this? Like, how are you going about making sure that you're staying healthy while also putting on massive amounts of strength and size?
Okay, so first thing is first. I have a bit of a controversial thought on performance enhancing drugs. I actually think everything is like actually good if you do like certain doses of it and you're not like blasting like 200 grams of tren a day kind of idea. I think everything is can be done relatively healthy, regardless if it's a foreign substance that probably shouldn't be in your body. And I think because like, yes, we've had some bodybuilders die from steroids, but abusing exactly. And I'm sure they are tracking, but they are pushing the limits of like what they should be taking. So with that being said, I have taken some PEDs to also help with recovery and muscle growth and performance, and to my no extent. So like the one I everyone will probably laugh, but I've taken Anavar as much as 30 milligrams a day, so it's 3 tabs. And the reason I started doing Anavar for a while there was because basically I read a few reports saying that, or things online that was like, up to about 40 milligrams a day of Anavar is about as bad as to having 2 to 3 beers a night. And I don't drink. So I was like,
Mm.
well, I can deal with some liver toxicity. Let's go. Which may not be the right way to do it. But I think like when you're trying to perform at a peak,
So sorry, what is
and
I'm not actually sure what Anavar does. What is Anavar known for doing?
Anavar helps with muscle retention and muscle growth. It's given to anorexic patients by doctors.
Oh.
Um, it helps you look a little bit harder. Helps you look a little bit like keep things there. I don't know the full history of it. If I knew it was going this way, I could have been a little bit more prepared. But it's kind of like a lot of female bodybuilders will take it. It'll give female parts will get enlarged if they go really heavy on it. It's one of kind of the negative side effects for them. But for males, it doesn't generally have, unless you're like having 10, like 100 mgs a day or more, you're generally not seeing too much side effects of it. Generally speaking, at like a low dose, and a low dose based on these reports I kind of read can be like longer instead of like your typical 12-week cycle. You could potentially do it 6-8 months kind of idea without it having any sort of negative side effect. I haven't dabbled I've never done trend. I haven't dabbled in like crazy hard like injectable steroids.
Just more so
Done some
androgynous.
SARMs. Yeah, more like just easy like pill kind of thing. I've done some SARMs, like I did ibutamorin MK77, which helps
Okay.
to bring up your your human growth hormones naturally. But I find I retain a lot of water on it, and I pee all night, like every 45 minutes. So it wasn't something for me. What else have I tried? Anything else in here? I did some cleanse for a little bit, but I sweat too much on it. And that was just when I was trying to lose some weight a year ago. And besides that, I just do peptides. So I try to like find substances that'll aid in recovery. I don't care so much about muscle growth because I know I'll get there with food. It's just more of like what will help me recover better.
Yeah,
So I can
no,
work out better the next day.
and I completely agree with you. I think all of these types of substances, like you say, maybe not some of the ones that are more harsh chemical compounds that have a laundry list of side effects, but the ones that are more natural and used in proper supervised manners, like they are exactly what they're called, performance enhancing drugs. Like
Yeah.
if I'm under the belief that they don't want people to be on them because if everyone was enhanced, that would enhance other areas of their life. They would become healthier, and then they'd in turn become smarter, and then they'd in turn be happier, and then they'd be more like it'd just be just like what I talk about in my coaching. Like when you fill up your cup and you are eating clean and your brain's working well and you have all the energy in the world and you're getting good sleep and you're eating to fuel your body, all these things, you're just going to eventually overflow into other areas of your life, and you're going to have more success in other areas of your life. And it's the same thing for that. Like they don't want everyone in society being enhanced because then they wouldn't be able to, say, control people as well because they don't need their systems. They don't want their shitty food. They don't want or need their healthcare. They're on their own agendas.
Yeah, it's 100%. Like I'm generally on the TRT dose. I've obviously upped it to see like, what benefits me. And like I went as high as 400 a week. And I actually found less benefits out of that over my 200 that I'm normally on. So, it's the TRT one in particular, taking testosterone, which people argue now, oh, he's on TRT because he blasted or whatever, but whatever. Being at the 200 milligrams a week, like when I stopped cold turkey about a year ago, for some blood work and for some other stuff that was going on health wise, I had like 3 weeks while I was off it, and it was probably still in my system for the first week, but the 2 weeks after that, like little things in business, I'd almost cry over it. I'm like, what is going on? Like it was the closest I've probably ever gone to like actually say I had like some sort of like depressive outbreak, and like having my hormones up to snuff as much as possible, and like how I feel versus like that 2 week period, like it's night and day. And I don't know how somebody would want to go around not being the best version of themselves, even if they don't know what that is yet, right? Like I'm like, everyone I talk to now, like, you're over 30, I'm like, you should go get tested, because if you're low, get on it. Like just find out. And like another big guy that I train with, he just recently started. I won't drop his name because he doesn't want some other people knowing if they see this, just in case. But he said the same thing. Like his mood is better. He doesn't get angry as fast. Like he's not as short to blow a head gasket at work, or even with his like younger kids or anything like that. Like he's like, everything is better. Like he can't believe he waited so long at this point. And he's only 36, right? Like not like, don't abuse it, but like, hey, if you're low on that graph, like get on it as a male, and enjoy the being a better man, I guess is a better way to put it. So,
exactly. Like, how can I be the most vibrant and successful in different areas of my life version of myself? The most fit, the most active, the fastest moving, the most prepared physically for anything that comes my way. Like, why would you not want that?
Yeah. Well, it's even like I mean, our businesses weren't much different back in the day, but like, I find when I'm hunting for business, it's like dating, right? Like what do I have to do, or what do I have to say to kind of like that, make that person refer to me, or vice versa? You can either be all slumped over and like down on yourself, or you can like chest up and actually feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what TRT's definitely done.
Yeah, it gives you a whole different energy and people notice. 100%.
Yeah.
If you walk into a room and you're confident and you're feeling good and you're on a different wavelength of success, if you know what you need to do and you're just out there to execute, people notice that.
100%.
So yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I called this the Truth Performance Podcast, because people need to know not only the truth about some of these things and substances, but also find what works for them. What is their truth? How can they manipulate what they have as resources to become the best versions of themselves? And that's going to look a little bit different for everyone. Just like, I can't eat as much as you can, and you can wrap me up in your arms and squish me like a bug.
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting. I have a family member that complains about depressive stuff, but then won't go and do the hard things, aka the gym or things like that, and wants the quick fix and whatever meds the doctor might prescribe or whatever the counselor might say. And I'm like, if you don't have to work out like me, but just worked out for
Move
an
your
hour
body,
a day, like
get your blood
things
flowing.
would be totally different, right? Go for a walk, like, and of course I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's like, well, I don't know if I haven't hung myself yet. So
so when guys are giving you shit online about your appearance being a bigger guy and claiming to be strong and healthy, like what are they saying, and how do you respond?
Online haters I generally don't respond to at all, and if there's comments I normally just like it and like move on.
That's gotta be the biggest like insult, and like deflate the tires of the person trying to insult you. All you do is like their comment.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't deal with it. Like, I don't talk to them ever. I had a voicemail one from some, I'll say guy, pretty sure it was a girl though, because it didn't sound like a guy in the voice memo. But it was basically just like, I'm like lying and feeding into this, like, I'm pretty sure they said right-wing propaganda of like food and like the diet. Like, I'm pretty sure she's American, but it was like the dietary table and like how the right side is trying to like change it, and like how it's healthy now. And it was like 4 minutes, and I literally just sent a thumbs up. Like, I don't care, whatever. Like, you were at my wedding, you heard like the two best men. Like, I don't give a shit what people think at all. I can care less. So like my small core group that I care about, and like if you have an opinion, I'll listen. But like, that's it. So I don't care.
Yeah.
So like, it works. It works for me. Like, why? If it doesn't work for you, no problem. Go eat your vegetables and do your thing.
Imagine that. Imagine doing something that works for you, and then not listening to everyone else, and letting everyone else do what they want to do without piping into what they do.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird concept. I feel like it's common sense, but apparently common sense is not so common. So
I think that's a far right wing ideology.
Yeah. My own cousin thinks I'm like ridiculously right now. We're gonna turn this to a political. I probably get banned, but she wasn't at my wedding. for some things that happened, and she sent me a message the other day saying how like bigoted I am because I didn't invite her daughter, who's transitioned her to a male now. I guess I just dead named them, but yeah. So I'm apparently a very terrible right wing person. Well, I just don't care. That's the best part about everything.
Yeah, didn't invite you because you're not nice to me, and therefore
Yeah.
I don't want you at my wedding.
Yeah. And actually, her son was invited. They just already had all arrangements and couldn't make it. Oh.
Yeah, I was glad it all worked out, and I was able to make it back to Canada for your wedding from Mexico. It was a good time. I enjoyed it. I think all
pay for the shenanigans that night.
I think all the events leading up to the wedding, and even the setup, even that was all just as fun as the wedding itself.
Yeah, it's like we found out afterwards that there was kind of some hiccups, but like ultimately like it went as smooth as it probably could have, to be honest. So
the only real hiccup that I know of, other than like maybe that sign falling down repeatedly by the front of the tent there, but one thing that Keisha noticed is like when we were setting up for the ceremony in the middle of the forest there in the parking or in the campground, and they came out and they're like, everyone grab your own chair, and she's just like, what? Why are we grabbing our own chairs? I guess someone was late or took a wrong turn and got there late or whatever, and so the chairs weren't already set up.
Yeah, so like from my understanding, so the only real hiccup was the ceremony, and like the day of coordinator, who I wouldn't refer on, was here. So we did our vows here back to back, and it was only because my mom and my uncle weren't there, like they passed. I wasn't sure I could probably like really get too many words out in front of people. So I was like, I'd rather we just do back to back. And like I didn't see her till the actual ceremony. So that's what we did here. And then the day of coordinator is still here, and it wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to be setting up. So like people showed up, I guess, and like, is this where it's supposed to be? Because there's like nothing kind of going on. So that's when my friend Katrina took over and got everything set up and kicked ass. And she's like in a dress and like lifting logs and moving things around.
A slit up to her hip, and this woman's throwing chairs around, getting everything set up like a boss in the dirt.
Yeah, so she kicked ass and like got all things set up there. So like when we showed up, everything is like, oh, like people are sitting and like looking good, right? Like
perfect.
Had no idea. Yeah.
Perfect.
So we had planned though, if like, because we were on a road, that if somebody had to go down there like forestry or whatever, like everyone would have to grab a chair and like kind of like hockey car and like everyone moves to the side. But luckily that wasn't the case. So
yeah, Zamboni and everyone has to pick up their chairs and move over to the side.
Yeah, so everything worked out. But there was some hate from a couple of the in-laws' friends on like my size at the wedding.
Why?
So
they're worried that it's not going to look good in photos. Like, what's their issue?
Just that I'm fucking awesome master of a human being. And the wives probably wish they slept beside me, and husbands probably know that. So that's what I'm going with.
I love that level of confidence.
So it's like I don't like. I'm glad you decide to lean out and get smaller, and like that's awesome. I'm glad for you. It's just not my choice. Like I'm not going to hate you for it. And you don't hate me because I decided to bulk up and lift heavier shit. Like
you just call me dick skin, and I don't call you anything. I didn't even know that was a thing until you started calling me dick skin. Then you told me that it was because I have veins all over my arms.
You're very vascular, yes.
Yeah, and I mean, dude, as much as I
have
used
like a little vein right here when I work out. Oh,
right in the inside of the elbow.
Yeah, that's it. I sometimes get up here. That's it.
Yeah, I've been sitting at like between 180 and 185, and I used to sit at like 195, 200 for the longest time. But honestly, dude, like, I mean, I'm playing like my sports right now are Muay Thai and beach volleyball. So like being fast and being quick and being able to move around and have endurance and jump and be able to move my hips and be fluid. Like so I feel great, and I still eat a crap ton of meat and eggs, and I more or less eat animal based other than like some fruit and barely a little bit of vegetables as well. But like if I'm 90% of my meals I'm dialed in is just basically meat, eggs, dairy for the most part. and I feel
Yeah, I
great.
mean, and that's the bottom line. I think that's what has to be. If like I bulked up last year like 380, thinking it would be beneficial strength wise. And I remember like I don't have a lot of stairs in my house, but the ones I do, I was like hearing my breath, and I'm like, this is a problem. Like I can't do this. So like we dropped down to like below 300s, and kind of for this comp we went up to 330. Now that I'm focusing on soccer again, I'll probably like drop down to probably 300 again. So like I'll feel pretty good.
Yeah,
But like,
the amount of weight you yo-yo is impressive because you've been down to like 270?
yeah, my lowest is like lowest in like recent times is like 270.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I'd probably have a six pack. If I dropped to 270 right now, I'd probably get a six pack.
That'd be all right.
Even at 330, I had the V going on through the fat.
Oh, okay, the V lines. I see.
So
The obliques there.
yeah.
So
So
what's next? Are you gonna come back next year, and are you gonna try to qualify for nationals?
okay. So the answer is I don't know. I am very all in, and so like even though I'm doing strongman at a very amateur hour, ultimate goal, kind of like how I've always looked at dating, is like if you're dating somebody, the ultimate goal is to marry somebody. So for me, even though I'm competing in strongman, like the ultimate goal is to basically get my pro card. And I'm very far away from that. Like I'm not trying to say like I'm as strong as Mitchell Hooper or any of the Canadians that are on the pro circuit right now, but that would be like the ultimate goal.
Pro card in powerlifting.
In strongman.
In strongman, okay, because powerlifting is all.
I'm doing this to win. I'm not doing this to be better than myself. Like that whole like compete against yourself. Yeah, I do that, but like I'm here to win.
So just quickly, just in case there's confusion, what is the difference between powerlifting and strongman?
Okay, so powerlifting, you do 3 main lifts. You do a squat, you do a deadlift, and you do a bench.
All
bench
Olympic
press.
bar lifts.
Yeah, so like there's like strict rules that you have to follow, and like on your deadlift, you can't like you have to kind of put the bar down. You can't like drop it per se. Like there's lots of different nuances depending on what kind of federation you're in. I did powerlifting for a little bit, and I just didn't like the crowds. It's kind of like golf claps and stuff. Whereas like with strongman, like my main competitor could be cheering me on because I'm doing well, right? I find it's a better overall atmosphere,
more camaraderie.
Yeah, more so like your direct competition is like your biggest fan at the same time, right? So
cool.
Which is rad. It's actually quite a nice little circuit, and like I've mucho improved on my strength and my weaknesses this year, and I'm proud that I'm a better lifter overall than I did, but like I'm not happy that I was like 7th loser at provincials. Like it was pretty devastating.
7th loser, aka you came 7th out of how many?
15.
Okay, middle of the pack in
middle of the
provincials.
pack. So it's not something to shake a stick at, but it's like I wanted a top 5 finish and I didn't get that. So, and it's really unfortunate because I zeroed my first event, which is an overhead press, which I can overhead press like 350 pounds, but yet I couldn't do this event. I couldn't even get points. And I did it. I literally did the event 2 days later, and I got 3 reps, which would have won me the event.
So what happened?
Like, it just wasn't my day. I don't like in warmups really well. I don't know. I don't have an answer. So to answer your question, which has been a really long way, I will probably continue with strongman, but I've been kind of flirting with the idea of getting into ultra marathons, and I've always been intrigued by ultra marathons after reading Goggins' first book, and I like pushing my mind, and that might be the avenue I go. So I'm not really sure right now.
Are you gonna try to raw dog it?
Yeah, if I do it, I'm going balls to the wall.
You know what raw dogging it is?
So, yeah, I'm just gonna start at 330 pounds and see what happens. I'll do a 24-hour race.
No. Doing marathons raw dog style. Raw dogging.
What is that?
So
like no training?
There's this stupid thing. Like I'm like a little bit ashamed that I said it. So there's this trend going around where guys are going on flights and they're doing what's called raw dogging it. No headphones, no distractions, nothing but the seat in front of you and maybe the flight tracker. And just like
I can't do that. I'll crash the plane. I can't do that.
No. And there's guys that are like 10-hour flights raw dogged. No headphones, no eye mask, no music, no nothing.
No, I can't do that.
So you wouldn't do a 10-hour run with no music or podcast?
No, I probably have. Because even now when I do my 5K runs at this size, which are about an hour for me, I have to have like my screaming metal to calm my demons.
To calm your demons, or to push the physical you?
Oh no, I do that. I'll tell my fat fuck to run every 5 seconds. So I can yell at myself. That's not the issue. It's just to keep my demons inside my brain.
What do they? If they escape, what do they tell you?
I'll just stop. So I don't know.
They'll just make you quit.
Yeah. So
They're not very supportive.
Negative.
Nah, you need to get some more supportive entities behind you, bro.
No, I like demons. That's why I do psychedelics.
I did a good dose while I was in Canada, actually.
Dude, DMT, that's a new one.
For you?
Bro.
When did you do it?
We did my stag, but then I have a pen upstairs right now. We did it a couple weeks ago.
It's on my list.
Yeah, so at the stag, we did it. I was on mushrooms and MDMA too. So yeah, there's a few substances in me. That was pretty cool. That like the whole sky was like blue and green geometry, and like that was an experience. So like this time around, I'm like, let's do it sober to DMT and come back, and that was cool. So they've both been very cool. That's the best answer I got. So
yeah,
so
I've tried it once, but I just didn't do enough, or I had to like do a third hit because I was in what's apparently called the waiting room. I could hear, like, because I was up on my rooftop deck back in Abbotsford, and I had a couple friends with me.
Hold on. Let's back up a minute. They have a name for it when you haven't done it properly?
So yeah, so based on what I experienced, I was told that I was in the waiting room. So basically, I could see like just everything was bright geometric colors and patterns, and then there's like this snake that like Pac-Man style going around my visionary field through this maze, and there's like a ringing in my ear and a super weird sensation in my body, but I was still conscious in this realm, and I could hear people talking. It slowly just faded out, and I was back. Instead of disappearing for 10-15 minutes and coming out of it thinking I lived a whole lifetime, I just got a little glimpse of it. So that's called being in the waiting room.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So next time I'll have to enter the dimension of DMT instead of just sitting in the waiting room.
When I bought the pen, I got the whole spiel of like, you do one hit, you do a second hit a little bit longer, and then you do a third hit. You hold that third hit as long as possible. And I was like, oh, you don't just suck on the pen like 9 times and see what happens? So that's what we did the first time. So
yeah, so this one, it was the yellow. It was like the yellow powder in like kind of like a dab rig, I guess. And I did the first one, then the second one, and then I didn't know you had to do a third one, because it wasn't a controlled amount like with a pen. So yeah, I just did the second one, and that's where I hit the waiting room.
Yeah, it's an experience. So I guess they call, like, Chris, my friend, told me that they call people that do it too much like drip heads, I guess, when they do the pen too much. And I'm like, I could see how this becomes a problem.
So if you could break it down in like 1 minute, your experience.
Probably the closest thing to ayahuasca that I've had.
Closest thing to ayahuasca.
No entities with it.
No entities involved.
I didn't get any entities up.
Okay, interesting.
But ayahuasca I did.
Okay, my ayahuasca experience was terrible. I just shouldn't have been there. I got absolutely nothing.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I was in a larger
group. You didn't
group.
shit yourself and get nothing.
No, I didn't even get an upset stomach, dude. I was just laying there in pain because I was on the concrete. I
spewed everywhere, but the trip was spectacular. So.
Yeah, I wish I had both those symptoms.
That's okay. The shaman, when we did ours, the shaman talked about this lady that apparently like she was fighting some shit, and like she had no idea. She was really nice too, but apparently she was like she grabbed like one of the beanbag chairs they had there, was like trying to fight the shamans, and like she was having a fucking bad time. All the rest of us were like also probably having a bad time, but she was really having a bad time. So yeah.
What I got one couple quick questions for you before we wrap up. What do you think is like one of the best indicators of overall health and fitness?
Best indicators of overall health and fitness.
Not talking about blood work, so that was a physical thing.
I think the answer to that, in my opinion, would be the ability to self-reflect and
Ooh,
actually
interesting.
be critical of their decisions and the things they do versus
Ooh.
like, cause nothing, like for me personally, nothing is someone else's fault. It's my fault.
Extreme ownership
Yeah.
and accountability. I love it. So can you elaborate and go into a little bit of why that is one of the best indicators of health and fitness?
Cause okay, so like health and fitness ties together in my opinion. It's not so much like for the fitness side of it, like you either did or you didn't do the lift, right? So it's like, why didn't you do the lift? And now you can be overcritical of that. When it comes to health, people I find these days don't. So like overall health is what I'm kind of going for here. But people are like absorbing things that they don't need, or are blaming people for or things for causing them stress or grief. And I think when
Victimhood.
you're overcritical, you just cut that shit out because
Mm-hmm.
it either happens to you or it happens for you. You're either okay with it or you're not. And you proceed accordingly, right? And I find that overcritical and people that don't overanalyze are generally the ones that are not very healthy and generally not very healthy either.
Very cool. And good explanation. I enjoy that. That's very wasn't what I was expecting, but it's cool. I dig it.
What were you expecting?
I don't know. If I were to be asked that question, I would probably say the ability to sprint. I think to be able to
That's what you think of people as healthy, eh?
of like
'Cause, like,
being vital and like being yeah, well, yeah, I think so. If you can genuinely run, like not just run as fast as you can based on who you are, but to be able to actually run like a good 50-yard or 100-meter sprint in a decent time, I think is a indicator that your body is functioning all around rather well.
okay, because my caveat to that, to fight you on that, would
Yeah,
be
hit me.
like, right this very moment, if I went into a full out sprint, I would probably pull something because my body's not that fast twitch muscles like that are not firing right now. So it's something I have to
Mm-hmm.
ease into. So like, you don't consider me healthy and fit?
Ah, nice. No, I think you're a big fatty and you're not healthy at all. No, I see it as so you have different defense mechanisms than someone like me. So like if I'm going to be hard to kill, for example, right? One of my traits would be to escape anywhere faster than everyone else, to be able to drop of a hat, be able to jump over a wall, sprint down a road, climb a tree, jump over a river, whatever it may be, right? So the fight or flight, where you are a brick mason wall, and you would probably just say come at me. So it's a little bit different. So we have different mechanisms and different styles,
That's
and
fair.
and
Yep.
on top of that, different body styles. So that's why for me, because when I think of my health, my vitality, and my overall wellness, if I'm in a position where I can do with very minimal warm up and prep, do a fast sprint, that means my body mechanics are all working and balanced and everything's firing properly. And if all of that's firing properly, my stomach's probably doing well. And if my stomach's doing well, my brain's going to be firing well. So I think that's just a good indicator.
So I think we kind of like, yes, okay, I see where you're coming from, and I agree. With mine though, I feel like there was something slightly missed. So it's like when you started your fitness and everything, you learn to self regulate and self look at yourself, right?
Yes.
But that was probably more recent in your fitness journey. It's probably not so much. That was definitely not the beginning, and definitely probably not the middle. It's probably been at this section at the end
Yeah,
so far, right?
the last 5-6 years.
Exactly. So that's kind of like my answer to your question was like, people that have been in fitness and healthy get to that point at about like the 5-6 year mark. And then that's kind of like how they look at things. So that's why I deem that to be a healthy person.
Very good. There is no right and wrong. They're all great answers.
Well, there's always a right and wrong, and I'm right. Just kidding.
Beautiful. Beautiful, man. Well, I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on, taking the time to talk about this stuff with me. Possibly have you on again at some point in the future. Where would people go to find anything more about you or about what you do? We talked very little about the business side of things, but you're a mortgage broker and you get mortgages done for people when most of the time other people can't. So where do people find you?
Well, I guess Facebook is my name. If you want to send me a message first before just adding me, because I'll just decline it and say, hey, I heard you here, then maybe I'll add you. On Instagram, I think my personal is J_Foulis. I think it's public, so I think you can just like watch and give me hate mail if you want.
A lot of the strongman stuff on there.
Yeah, personal stuff is more on that one. And then the work one is New Image Mortgage, all one word.
New Image Mortgage.
If you're in BC or Canada, I can help you, or Alberta. But if you're anywhere else in the world, I cannot. So you can like my stuff if you want, but I can't give you mortgage advice.
So I was actually watching an episode of the podcast that I used to be a part of with you and Jesse, Conscious Business Podcast.
Oh, yes.
And I heard a part about where you draw the line between where you post your strongman stuff between your personal page and your business page, and why. Can you give a little breakdown of what you share on each page and why?
So the business page will get a little bit of strongman stuff here and there. Maybe the odd workout post, or not post, but like a story or something like that. And I just find that the work page needs to have a little bit of my personality, but it doesn't need to necessarily have my personality, because at the end of the day, if a realtor follows me or a client, they're following New Image Mortgage to find out about mortgage information, not so much my day-to-day stuff. My personal page gets fucking everything, whether it's maybe a political point that I do or don't agree with, or something I'm making fun of on a story, or the wife or the kid or the dogs. It gets everything, and you're going to get to know me more as a person. And if Justin Foulis at Instagram gets canceled, then New Image Mortgage will still be alive and floating around. So that's kind of my thoughts. I don't share too much political or bad thoughts and stuff, but there's the odd little thing here and there. So that's why I keep it separate.
No, I think most of the stuff that you would post on your stories that are like borderline controversial are more so introspective and just thought-provoking than anything.
That's what I try. I try to do that more so than anything.
And then, of course, there's policy things related to finances going on with like the Bank of Canada, because that directly affects your line of work on your business page.
Yeah. So I try to keep it pretty chill. But yeah, there's probably a few things that are a little controversial that I post on there sometimes here and there. So
we all have our moments.
Yes. All right, man. Yeah, it is what it is.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for being here, man. I appreciate you. And that is all for today. Thanks for tuning in to the Truth Performance Podcast. That is myself, Clayton Dybert, and Justin Foulis, the BC's strongest, Canada's strongest mortgage broker. Thanks. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.